All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live and we're going to be here for probably 15 or 20 minutes. I was going to make a video about this, but I figured it would probably be better to do live as we're going through a lot of information, and that's hard to kind of keep up with when you're doing a video, I would say, especially since we're going to look at some other videos. In just a second here, I'll put my headset on because we're going to listen to some of the audio of these other videos, and I don't want to give you any feedback on the microphone, so just bear with me. Let me bring up chat as well, so that way we have all of that going. And let me do this. We'll plug in. It's always a lot of work when we're trying to get stuff going, so especially when you're doing the research and all that kind of good stuff, because there's always a lot of information. So a lot of feedback on my Tiffany Gomas videos and the Crazy Plane Lady. So I've got 3 videos out there, a couple of live streams. It's been a very interesting case, and I know that we've had a lot of different theories, and we've covered some of the theories. This one I haven't. I said in the last video that I had that we may cover this depending on what some of the comments are. So I decided, why not do this live? Gives us a little bit more flexibility to kind of look at some of the pictures and to look at some of the videos side by side, and we're going to do that together. And I'll transition my screen here in just a moment so you can see my desktop. But essentially, we looked at a couple of different things. We looked at, number one, possibility of just having a bad day, momentary lapse in judgment. I've said that a few times, and that seems to be possibly what the case was. AirPods have come up as a rumor, and even arguing with a potential lawyer on the plane. We saw that video before. The second thing was maybe Tiffany Gomas saw someone or saw something, which is possibly like the alien theory. If you watch my second video, I do put a lot of stuff on UFOs, even the feedback from Obama on one of the talk shows that he was on, just talking about aliens and UFOs and things living among us. So, I thought that was pretty important as well. And then this comes up quite a bit too. And this all started back before I ever did my first video. Some friends that I play online gaming with, so Apex, Fortnite, Call of Duty, that kind of stuff. I was talking to those folks, and the first thing one of my friends said from Louisiana was, that's not the same person. He said that the person that's in that video, the original video, doesn't seem real. He was like, it seems like it was AI generated. And so we had a good conversation about that before I ever did my first video. And I allude to that in the comments that I have a friend that, kind of talks through that. And to this day, he still thinks that she wasn't real in the video at all. And we don't talk a lot about true crime stuff because we typically game together. But I happened to be working on this video when we were in Discord. So, I wanted to get their feedback, and sometimes I like to do that before I post a video. Just get people that I know just to let me know if the video is okay or if they would watch it, or give me some raw feedback. And so this theory had come up, and I was waiting for the comments to see if this was going to be the main theory, and it did come up quite a bit. And a lot of people think that got to think a little bit deeper. I'd even heard one of the comments where someone said, maybe she never made it off the plane, or maybe she got into custody. And I thought that was an interesting theory and an interesting perspective. And I was like, okay. And I haven't really given my perspective per se, and I probably should do that because I haven't done them in the videos. But a big reason why I don't do that in the videos is obviously I'm a true crime fan, love watching cases. I just finished wrapping up watching the Seth Jackson case before I went live here. So otherwise I would have went live sooner. And so I do get opinions from it. And I do believe that people are innocent until proven guilty. But there has been some cases where I'm like, wow, this doesn't look real good. In this case here, after breaking everything down and all the videos that I've done and really kind of looking at everything, there's 2 things. And I'll hit the second one last at the last part of this video, or the last part of this live stream. But the first one is, do I think that Tiffany Gomas is the Crazy Plane Lady? Okay. And then the second piece is, do I think that Tiffany Gomas saw something, or is it going to come out that she was having an argument with somebody on the plane? So let's start with the second one first. So I do think that what happened on the plane with this person here is that it was probably a lot simpler than what we thought. I don't think that she saw anything that really, at the end of the day, was making her scared, like Tom Cowling. You know, he looked genuinely scared. In this video that I see, and we'll queue up the first video so I know everybody saw it, but you can see it again. It seems like she's frustrated more than she's scared. And I'm not a psychologist by any means, and I'm not trying to be, but she seems like she's a lot more frustrated than scared. She looks like she's upset. She looks like she just went a couple of rounds in an argument, and, you know, that argument didn't go very well. Which would lead me to believe that maybe she was arguing with somebody on the plane. Now, could it have been over AirPods? It absolutely could have been over AirPods. Maybe somebody took those AirPods and maybe she said something and she didn't get the result that she was looking for. The other thing that we hear is in one of the videos, the stewardess, was asking if she had switched seats, and maybe she had switched seats, or maybe she wasn't in the right seat and somebody had called her out on it. I don't know what the case is, but that's what it seems like. Like she was just frustrated and she was getting off that plane and she wasn't gonna stay on that plane. We're gonna watch the TMZ video and do some comparisons there, but you kind of see she goes back to flying right away. We also are going to see a little bit about her being charged with no trespassing, but she's still flying because she was just in LA last week. So, you know, what did that no trespassing really come about, and was there more to it? And then the last thing before we start doing some comparisons is nobody on that plane has talked. Now, this video has gone viral millions and millions and millions of time over, and we haven't heard anybody from, you know, American Airlines, which maybe they're on a gag order or have like an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Obviously, you're not going to hear from the police, but we do have some of the body camera footage. But then we don't hear anything from anybody that's on the plane, even the person that took the video, you know, which is absolute insanity to me that somebody hasn't come out and kind of talk about this a little bit. So that's the first thing that kind of leads to that conspiracy. Now, you will see in the TMZ video that Tiffany says that she's going to do this for charity. She's going to sit down and essentially have an interview. She doesn't go into that much detail, but basically says that she's going to have to talk about what she saw that day or what had happened that day. And that's what really leads me to believe that if it was something that really put her in danger, she would want to talk about it. She would want other people to know why that plane was in danger. Now, the first argument that I think will come out is that she says that that plane's not going to make it to Orlando. And yes, I take that into consideration as well. I think that that definitely has to be a huge consideration. And so I kind of weigh the two. She says things like that and the plane comes back, it gets deplaned. But she also, when you look at this video, she's visibly frustrated versus visibly scared. You know, she does have some fear in there, but the more I'm watching this, the more it looks frustration versus a fear thing, and that she kind of wants some people on her side. So, you know, with all of that being said, I'm gonna transition my screen here so you can kind of see this, and we'll see what we've got. I guess I better bring my cam back up, right? So, what am I doing here? Okay. So you can see my screen. Let's pop that down. You can see I've got a lot of pictures of Tiffany Gomas right here. And I think some are better than others, and I've got some other ones that are queued up, but just want to get you your first look of, you know, what Tiffany Gomas looks like. And this is the one that I went searching for. This is the one that, you know, very similar shirt. You know, obviously the shirt's a little bit different color. But it looks like it's something that she would typically fly in or something that she would travel in. And you can see the earrings are very similar, and the way that she has her hair back is very similar. Now, this was pointed out in some of my comments that maybe Tiffany Gomas was trying to do this to look like the crazy plane lady. But when you compare side to side, you kind of see it really does, you know, there is a very similar look to both of them. Now, one thing that I would look at is, you know, if there was some intoxication that was involved, and let's say that Tiffany had been drinking that day. You know, sometimes when people drink and they have a few too many, or they're legally intoxicated, their look kind of changes a little bit. And what I mean by that, you know, their eyes become a little bit more droopy. They look a little bit more tired, a little bit slow to respond, slurring their words, things like that. Kind of have a little bit different look from an intoxication. Not a huge difference, but you can tell when they're a little bit more intoxicated. I can only use myself as an example. I can tell in pictures that if I've went out and had some adult cocktails that, you know, I can tell that I've been lit up a little bit, right? And so I ask you to consider that when you're looking at the pictures, especially when you're looking at this one that appears to be an LAX. I know they say LA, so I'm going to assume that it's LAX. And then this one that's on the plane. So very similar hair, very similar earrings. You know, I'd say the eyes, you can't really tell because it's pixelated, but I would say, you know, general shape of the eyes look pretty similar. I would say neck right around here has a kind of similar look. Now, obviously, being in focus or out of focus is going to be a little bit different from that for sure, but it's starting to look a lot like her for sure. And then I'm going to click on this one too, because this one kind of gives you a little bit different look at it. Mouth is a little bit open. Mouth is a little bit open. Now, different style, like from the side to the front, but kind of has a look to it, right? And I'm going to pull out a couple of these pictures so you can see in this picture here, she looks a little bit different with her hair down, her long hair. Looks totally different than what you would see even in here, right? And then here's the original picture that comes out. So when she did the first video, you know, it kind of doesn't look like her at all. And I think that might be a big reason why she pulls her hair back. But you do see, even with her hair out, she does kind of have the same style of part. And in here she does too, right? So those are a couple of things that we should look at when we're looking at the video. Is there similarities in that? And look at a couple of the different videos. The other thing too, keep in mind, you know, it looks like it was taped on either like a Samsung or some sort of Android or iPhone. And you really want to kind of listen to the voice and hear if the voices are different, because that's what I hear the most in the comments and even with my friends, is that the voice doesn't sound anything similar. Now, again, I want you to keep in mind, if somebody's been drinking or, you know, they're legally intoxicated, does their voice change? I don't know Tiffany Gomas. I don't know the Crazy Plane Lady. And if they're one of the same, obviously I wouldn't know either one of them. But if they're one of the same, I wouldn't know that person. So I don't know what or how they act when they're intoxicated. But typically I do find that there is a large portion of people when they get intoxicated look and sound different than when they're not. And then there is a large portion of people that you might not be able to tell that they're intoxicated without, say, a breathalyzer or smelling alcohol or knowing that they're in a bar, or, you know, maybe they come forward and say so. So those are all things that we should consider when we look at some of these videos, okay? Oh, there goes the puppies in the background. So the first one we'll do, and we're going to look at this one here. I think this is a good article. You'll see New York Post. There's been a few that have come up on the New York Post, and I don't really read the Post at all. They've done a lot of coverage on Tiffany Gomas, so I've been seeing the Post a little bit more. You know, usually I just use Google and then whatever pops up, but these guys actually put a bunch of videos in here that come together real well. So we're going to look at a few of these, and then I'll queue a few other videos up in YouTube as we get going. And I think I have one. Yeah, so I did have it queued up here as well. So let's just start with the TMZ one. And
how does it feel to be traveling again?
Great.
You know, in the airport again after what you went through.
A little bit of anxiety, but it's been good. Yeah.
Are you doing anything differently, like, you know, when you're getting ready to travel, or was there any new techniques you used?
No.
No?
No.
And a lot of people are curious.
Yeah.
What exactly you saw, because you know, you alluded to what you saw, but like we just want to know, like, you know, what did you see?
I mean, thanks for asking that, but I have been told I cannot comment on it right now.
I see.
I'm sorry.
Are you going to, like, you know, have a full kind of interview somewhere, or like, what's going on? What's the deal? What's the plan on?
The rate it's going, I feel like it's gonna have to happen.
Yeah.
So yes, there's some things in the works, mostly nonprofit charity stuff. But I've been trying to like lay low for the most part, but reporters wouldn't let that happen. So
Yeah. Well,
like I was so much strong-armed into speaking, and now here we are.
Well, I do want to know. Like, I mean, you won't say to me what you saw right now.
Yeah.
You can't.
All right, just got her too.
Yeah.
Well, but what about, like, what was the reason that you wanted to get off so bad?
Again, can't speak on that right now, but
Understood.
I was distressed and I was getting off the plane no matter what. I just probably didn't need to make the scene that I made.
Right.
But I was getting off that plane, for sure.
Right, and you stand by that, like,
100%,
even now.
100%.
Okay, so some interesting stuff there. You know, like obviously they talk about, oh, we might get to see this next video. They talk about, you know, essentially her getting off the plane. It was going to happen for sure. She doesn't really say why or anything that's happening there. But it's just very interesting that she does say that she's going to talk about it, and she doesn't say what she saw. And even on the original plane video, she doesn't see what she saw. And you could say, you know, based off of the frustration theory that maybe, you know, that motherfucker isn't real, that might be like she thinks somebody stole her AirPods or stole her plane seat or whatever, and then maybe they said that they didn't, and maybe whatever happened there, I can only speculate at that point, but maybe she didn't see anything. Maybe she was just trying to call somebody out on something that might have went missing or may not have went missing, right? All speculation. So the other piece to it as well is if you're reading this article, you'll see that she was trespassed. You know, and that actually does come up, and I know that there wasn't a lot that was going on, but if we take a look at this, let's.
Well, she's messing with TSA. We're probably going to arrest her for public intoxication.
Okay.
So,
that works with me.
yeah, she's still continuing to be a headache.
Because right now we need to remove her from the flight. She traded the whole, like, the plane and everything, so I said right now for us it's something serious. I know maybe you can arrest her or anything, but I just need to know her needs. If you just can get her information from me, that would be great.
Okay, we can ask her. If she tells us no, we can't do anything. We can try to ask her. We can't force her to try to identify herself. No criminal charges. They have no right to detain her.
Okay.
So
We can't compel her to identify herself. We could
even
ask.
if she's on drugs and intoxicated, if she's on something.
Yeah, so like that one was interesting as well, because you see that you know, she made a big scene. They're talking about should she be taken off, and then you see some of the stuff like the crazed passenger also insisted she was justified in delaying the July 2 flight for hours. So I'm curious to see why it would have taken 2 hours to get her off that plane. So that's something that we would want to take into consideration. But, you know, she says a little bit of anxiety. Okay, we see that. You know, she's pretty happy right here. Now let's go look at a couple of these videos, and we'll start with this one. So I want you to
Worried
keep this
texting
one in
won't be as
mind.
fun if you switch to Android.
Of course, I should have queued it up first, so that way we didn't have to watch these ads.
It's all good with more ways to connect.
Stop the plane. Stop the plane.
And we saw this on my video as well. Okay, so look at her face there. Okay.
Nope.
We're gonna look at this one too.
I don't care if I'm ever fly with y'all ever again. I want to know what happens to this flight right here.
They're gonna escort you out, so just tell me you're
Great.
calling without saying what.
Great. I don't ever want to fly with you ever again.
All right, ma'am. Ma'am,
Escorting me out and I'll never fly with them again.
ma'am, since you no longer have a valid ticket or business on this side of the airport, we gotta escort you out to the public
Have
side.
to
Okay?
go to right here. Whoops.
You ready?
It's on that flight.
If you don't leave, you'll be under arrest for criminal trespass.
Serve them.
There we go. We're gonna pop that on.
Sorry, y'all.
Let me fast forward this a little
Want
bit.
to take
I had to go to the
full
ones that I have in the vault.
For my actions, they were completely unacceptable.
So I want you to think,
Distressed or
is this the
not,
same person?
I should have been in control of my emotions, and
We're gonna fast forward this just a little bit. Maybe some drunk mannerisms.
See what happens. See what happens after this. See what happens. Where's your bag? Is your bag still over there? See what the f happens after she has a bag. I don't even give a f about my shit. Stop the play.
See, she's talking about like she doesn't care about what happens, and then here's the notorious.
And there's a
Now, you
reason
can't see
why
it very well, but
off, and everyone can either believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give two f, but I am telling you right now, that mother back there is not real. And
all right, let's pause it there. Let's go back to where did it go? Here we go. I don't know how these ones go back because I don't know what this is. I don't know if it changed. There we go.
Hi everyone, it's me, Tiffany Gomas, probably better known as the Crazy Plane Lady.
Okay, so you hear that?
you right now, that mother back there is not real.
Okay, so that's heightened, right?
Which is completely warranted. As you know, I have been unwilling to speak on the viral video, but I do finally feel.
So I would say.
And you can sit on this plane and you can die with them or not. I'm not going to.
That it's time. First and foremost, I want to take full accountability for my actions. They were completely unacceptable. Distressed or not, I should have been in control of my emotions, and that was not the case.
Okay. So now that we're looking at all of that, I ask you, is that Tiffany or is it not? Let's listen to this part.
Get you out to the public side, okay?
Where's your suitcase?
You ready?
It's on that flight.
If you don't leave, you'll be
Okay, so listen
under
to her
arrest.
right there. Listen to her right there. Okay.
My use of profanity was completely unnecessary.
Okay.
Criminal trespass. This is your warning right here.
Okay. What? What? Am I leaving? What are you talking about?
Ma'am, if you don't leave right now, you could be under arrest for criminal trespass. Let's go.
Let that flight leave. Do not let that flight leave.
Okay, so she's not calm there, but her voice is down a little bit lower.
And I want to apologize to everyone on that plane, especially those that had children aboard. Can't imagine going through that. And
Being dead serious. Do not let that flight leave.
You ready? Let's go. Come on.
You heard me say like, do not let that flight leave.
Okay, so you hear her
and trying
kind
to
of.
explain to your kid what in the world just happened. We all have our bad moments. Some.
Okay, so I'm going to leave that there, and what I'm going to ask for is that anybody that's been following so far, you know, what's your take on all of this? We'll transition back to this. So what's your take on all of this? There's a lot of stuff that's going on in these videos with Tiffany Gomas, and I've poured over these videos a lot, and I think it's an interesting case because, you know, I've got a little bit of a marketing background. Years ago, I don't want to date myself, so I won't say when, but a long time ago, I did media and marketing and all of that good stuff, right? Let me turn this off so that way it doesn't look so red, I guess. It could have been a really great publicity stunt. Now, obviously, the supporting videos, the videos that happened before the viral video and the video that happens after the viral video would suggest that that was definitely not a publicity stunt. and that it wasn't planned out prior. So I kind of got over that one. Would I be surprised if she came out and said, no, this was something that was planned? I don't think I'd be surprised, but at this point, I think we could kind of remove that off the table. Do I think that she saw a ghost or alien on that flight? I don't think so. I don't think that it was something that was abnormal, because I think she would have said it at some point. I think if it was something that that she saw that shouldn't have been there, I think she would have mentioned it. However, I do leave a little bit of room there, because you would also think if she had something stolen from her, like AirPods or even the seat, she was in the wrong seat or whatever the case was, I think that she would have said something about it. And she really doesn't. She doesn't go into detail with what's going on. So I think that's important to note as well, but it still kind of plays a factor. Now, the accent of the ladies in both videos sound very similar. I will say that one sounds intoxicated where one does not. So the plane video sounds like that person there is intoxicated, and I would say intoxicated on alcohol, but there's very real possibility that maybe there's Valium involved, or some sort of opiate like Oxycontin or something like that that might kind of slow down the cognitive function and kind of slow down that speech. But there definitely seems like there's some substances that are involved. My opinion, and I'm not an expert, would say alcohol for sure. And maybe there was a mixture of some, and that could be a real possibility. And I think that whatever had happened on that plane, she wanted to get off because of the situation. She wanted to get away from the situation, and quote unquote, she was just over it. So I would look for that when she sits down and has these conversations, to listen for that exact verbiage of somebody saying over it. Comparing the two videos and listening to the voice, you can also hear, obviously, she's heightened on the plane, which means her voice goes up an octave or two. But when you kind of slow it down, they do sound pretty similar. The way that she drags her T's at the end of a sentence, very similar to what you would see on the plane. And then just kind of that tone of voice, even going from high to low, it just seems like it would be in the realm of being very similar people. Now, it's hard to compare somebody when they're talking versus when they're yelling, absolutely, or when they're calm versus when they're heightened, because your voice typically projects differently based off of that. But I wouldn't say I have enough evidence side by side to say that it's the exact same voice, but I also would say I don't have enough evidence side by side to say that it's not the same voice. So here is my opinion thus far. You've already heard my opinion on what I think happened. I do think that the person on the plane is Tiffany Gomas. And I believe that Tiffany Gomas was intoxicated at the time that this happened. Again, maybe off multiple substances. And then she got escalated for whatever had happened at that point. And then she needed to get off of that plane for that reason, right? And some of it might have been self-awareness, knowing that she had been pushed over her limit, or she had pushed somebody else over their limit, or whatever the case is. But it does appear to be the same person to me. Now, I do find it weird that she is wearing almost the same top and hair when she's at LAX, which what we could assume is LAX. It almost is like she's trying to force us to believe that it is Tiffany. That does send up some red flags, so I do leave a little bit of room in there that, maybe something else is going on. But for me, comparing everything and spending the amount of time that I have, I think that it is Tiffany that's on that plane, and we are going to find out what exactly happened. And I think that for some of us that like listening to a good conspiracy, or, kind of trying to understand things that we don't know, we right now have a person that's going to tell us this, and I think we're going to hear it when it comes out in the interviews. I still question, though, anybody that was on that plane that day. I question what was found on the body cam footage, and I also question anybody that works for American Airlines, because we've heard nothing. Again, like my video stated, you have to have been living under a rock if you haven't seen this video that went viral. So how did nobody else say anything? Now, the other piece to it that is weird to me is the person that originally shared this video out hasn't said anything, or at least I haven't seen it. Maybe they did, and maybe that portion of the video just never went viral. That is a real possibility as well, right? It wouldn't be as fun if it's not a conspiracy. And let's be realistic. If it ends up being something that was over AirPods or an argument with people on a plane, it probably would have never went viral. Nobody would have cared. People argue on planes all the time. People argue in airports all the time. When I was in Seattle in October of last year, so 11 months ago, I had a gentleman trying to argue with me about when he was getting on the plane. I was boarding in group 1, he was boarding in group 4, and it was like 5 in the morning, and I asked him very politely, I said, "Sir, are you in group 1? And he said, "Why would you want to know?" I said, "Well, I'm just getting ready to board," right? And we weren't in line, and so he wasn't being and he wanted to be so confrontational and wanted to argue, and I was sitting there, and I was like, I finally, because he was with his wife at the time, I just said, I'm not sure what the argument is over. I showed him my ticket. I said, they're boarding group 1, and I just wanted to make sure I didn't step in front of you, and I was cutting lines. I said, not that matters because we all board at the same time, but it appears that you're in line. And then he finally said that he was group 4, but he was basically trying to start an argument at that point, and I didn't have time for it. I don't argue with people over silly things like that. At the end of the day, I could be the last person that boards a plane. That plane's leaving at the exact same time, whether I board first or I board last. So it really doesn't matter. So I get it. I spent a lot of time in airports, and I've seen people freak out on planes. I've seen people freak out in the terminals. I've seen people freak out at the airplane bars. I've seen arguments. I've never seen a physical fight, but I have seen people physically removed. So things happen when people fly, and people get a little bit sketchy at times. And more often than not, I do see a lot of stuff that happens in line where people are arguing. So could that be something that happened? Maybe she was arguing with somebody when they were getting on the plane, and the argument continued well onto the plane. I've had that happen as well. Or maybe it was somebody that was sitting beside her that just wanted to have a conversation. I've been on those flights too, where I've had to politely ask people like, hey, I've either got to get some work done, or I'm trying to get a nap in, or whatever the case is. I'm just not feeling like talking today, or whatever that might be. And it just is what it is, right? But for me, I do believe that is Tiffany Gomas, and I do believe that the story is going to come out. And I think the story is not going to be as fun as what it could have been if it was a conspiracy. But I could be wrong, and I hope I am. I hope I'm wrong on this one. I hope that there's something more to it, and we're just looking deep into it. I love that there's a conspiracy. Look, it's driven a lot of people to my channel. It's brought me some subscribers. I think I've gotten 20 or 25 subscribers out of the few videos that I've done, and it's a very interesting case to me. I'm following it every day. First thing I do when I get up is I look at 3 or 4 different cases, and I try to get any updates. One being Brian Kohberger, another one Richard Allen Green. Right, it's pretty interesting to me. And then this one's been really interesting as well. And then I always add a case or 2 in. And right now, I don't know if I'll do a video on it, but I'm looking at the Seth Jackson case from 2011, and that one's a very interesting case. And then I'm also looking at expanding my channel with Lost. I look at a lot of people that have been lost or haven't been found, and how can we make a difference in even just getting a few people to maybe notice somebody, right? So all of those things are what I do every day. And this case, I think, is just going to be a heartbreaker. I think that it's going to come out, and it's going to be a lot more simple than what we think it is. Again, I'm hoping that it's not, but I think it is going to be. And then the last case that I've been watching, which is this case that scares the hell out of me, to be quite honest with you, is the Chad Duerman case. And he's essentially the gentleman that killed his 3 sons. He confessed to it, and we don't know what those conditions were. Was he under distress when he did it? But he ends up coming back and pleading not guilty. So I put a video up, or a video is going to be coming up next week on this one. I did a lot of research on that one as well, so I've been watching that too. And then there's probably 20 other cases that I'm watching that are going to be far more interesting than I think the Tiffany Gomas case. But I do think that it's pretty cool to try to compare them side by side and see what's going on. And I'll be just much like you, trying to figure out what happens next. So based off of that, if you're watching this video, you've made it this far, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. I'm working really hard at trying to get monetized this year at some point. What I mean by this year is in the next 12 months. That'll put me at 2 years doing YouTube. I do work a full-time job and I have a fairly large territory, so I typically drive 3,000 to 4,000 miles every month for work. Some weeks are obviously heavier than other weeks, especially when I go far south and far west. Those are typically long days because I typically start out with a 3-hour drive in the morning and I end up with a 3-hour drive at night, and then I put in 8 to 12 hours in between. So I do work a lot of hours, and then there's some weeks when I'm working in town, I'm not working quite as much. So I can bounce from a 60-hour week to a 40-hour week. And that being said, that means there's some weeks I don't do as many videos. And I've been off for a week, so that's why you've seen a plethora of videos that have come out and some really great ideas. I do encourage that you watch The Highway of Tears. That one was very passionate for me, a passion project. That was something that I put a lot of time into, getting all the information. And even so, I still didn't feel like I did the justice that it needed to have. I am a solo project, so almost everything that is done, from the thumbnails to the editing to the video recording to setting up the room, is 95% me. I do get some help from my daughter, which is nice when I do get it, but that doesn't always happen. So, until I start getting monetized and I can afford to have people help out, this is the way that it's going to be. But I do appreciate the support and some of the comments that have been coming through, especially around the content and the people that are really getting involved with some of the videos. I really do appreciate that. It really does help me keep going, and I love hearing different perspectives. I don't always agree with your perspectives, and I'll throw that out there. I'm a very independent thinker, but I do believe that there should be other perspectives, and I do love to bounce different perspectives, and sometimes that does sway the way that I feel about things, and I think that that's very important. So that all being said, I appreciate you being here. Hit that subscribe button. If you think my videos are good, hit like as well, because that gets the videos out even further. And even share them. Share them on your Facebook, share them on your Twitter, whatever you want to do, if you think that the content is worth it. If you do think that there's things that I can improve that are reasonable, because we do want to continue to improve the channel over time for sure. If they're reasonable and I can make them for the very next video, I can do that. If they're a little bit longer, like painting the room, if you go back and look at a year ago, the room was like a ugly yellow. That stuff takes a little while longer. But things do happen over time, right? So, I bought a better camera. I bought a mic boom. I bought a better mic. I've got foam pads on the wall. I'll even show you. I've got extra ones kind of sitting here, right? So we've got these pads that are up now that should help with the echo. And we might put up more since we still hear a little bit. A lot of people helped me out with the videos and getting the mouth synced up, and that was hard work. I got to thank my aunt for that one. She stuck in there for 5 or 6 videos, just making sure that, I was getting that on the lockdown, and she helped. There was a lot of work done, but there was a lot of viewers that helped out with that as well. So that all being said, I hope everybody had a wonderful Labor Day weekend, and I hope everybody has a great week. And we may stream again on Friday. I do have some videos coming out this week. I have one more, which is going to be Henry Dinkins, and that is the child killer, the sleepover child killer, but I'm waiting for the court case to end so we know what the verdict is, and then I will post that video. That's going to be a very local video, so it might not get as many views, but I think that the work is still important there. And then my next video after that will be Chad Duerman, and then I'll also have next week another set of 5-minute novels, which are all written with the help of ChatGPT and then the help of my daughter. So we do a video where it's just 3 short stories. So that all being said, I hope everybody has a wonderful week. And I know at the end there I got a little bit on a rant, but love the channel, want to continue to grow it, love all the interactivity, and I want to thank everybody for that. That being said,